Lily lived a life painted in shades of green and brown. Her days began before sunrise, helping her father tend to their sprawling farm. Fields of corn stretched out like a golden ocean, and the air always smelled of fresh earth and hay. City folks might think it was a boring life, but Lily found a quiet satisfaction in the rhythm of the seasons, the gentle nudge of a calf, and the honest sweat on her brow. What most people didn't know was that Lily had a secret. Tucked away in the barn, behind stacks of hay bales, was her grandfather's old rifle. It was a relic, heavy and worn, but Lily treated it with reverence. Her grandfather, a war veteran, had taught her to shoot when she was just a girl, instilling in her a deep respect for the weapon and a steady hand. While other girls her age dreamed of dances and dresses, Lily practiced her aim, using tin cans and fallen apples as targets. She was a natural, her shots precise and true. But she kept her talent hidden, afraid of drawing attention to herself. On the farm, there was always work to be done, and dreams were a luxury they couldn't afford. Besides, no one in town would ever expect a farmer's daughter to be a sharpshooter. They saw her as quiet and unassuming, a girl who belonged in the fields, not on a shooting range. They would never guess the fire that burned within her, the focus and determination that sharpened her senses whenever she held the rifle in her hands. For now, her secret was safe, hidden amongst the rows of corn and the gentle clucking of chickens. Every year, the county held a shooting competition. It was a big event, drawing people from all over to test their skills. For most, it was just a bit of fun, a chance to show off and maybe win a small prize. But for some, it was serious business. And no one took it more seriously than Mark. Mark was the reigning champion, a tall, muscular man with a booming laugh and an even bigger ego. He worked at the local hardware store and spent most of his free time at the shooting range, perfecting his technique. He'd won the competition 3 years in a row, and he made sure everyone knew it. He swaggered around town like he owned the place, always ready with a boast about his shooting prowess. This year's competition was being advertised all over town. Posters were plastered on shop windows and telephone poles announcing the date, the location, and the grand prize, a brand new hunting rifle. Mark's face was practically glowing. He was already picturing himself hoisting the trophy, basking in the admiration of the crowd. He even started practicing new victory speeches, rehearsing them in front of the mirror, much to the annoyance of his poor dog, Buster. He was sure no one could beat him. He was the best there was, the best there ever would be. Or so he thought. Little did he know, a quiet farmer's daughter with a hidden talent was about to turn his world upside down. The posters even reached the farm, fluttering against the weathered wood of the barn, almost as if calling out to Lily and her secret. Lily's father, a man of few words but deep wisdom, noticed the way she looked at those posters. He saw the flicker of something in her eyes, a spark of longing mixed with hesitation. He knew about her secret practice, about the hours she spent in the barn with her grandfather's rifle. He remembered his own father teaching him to shoot, the pride he felt when he hit the target. He wanted Lily to experience that same feeling. One evening, after a long day in the fields, he sat down next to her on the porch. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. He cleared his throat, a rare occurrence. "Lily," he began, his voice rough but gentle, "I saw you looking at those posters for the shooting competition." Lily blushed, avoiding his gaze. "Yes, Pa," she mumbled, it's nothing." "Nothing?" he chuckled softly. "I know you've got a good eye, Lily. Better than most, I reckon. Why don't you enter?" Lily's head snapped up, her eyes wide with surprise. "Enter? Pa, don't be silly. I'm just a farmer's daughter. Everyone will laugh." "Let them laugh," her father said, his voice firm. "You know what you're capable of. Don't let their laughter stop you from trying. Besides," he added with a wink, "it'd be nice to see Mark get knocked down a peg or two. That boy's got too much pride for his own good." Lily hesitated. The thought of facing the crowds, the judgment, filled her with anxiety. But deep down, a tiny voice whispered, what if she could prove them wrong? What if she could actually win? Her father's belief in her, the quiet encouragement in his eyes, gave her the courage to consider it. I don't know, Pa, she said, still unsure. "It's a big competition. And you're a good shot, Lily," he replied simply. "That's all that matters." He stood up, clapping her on the shoulder. "Think about it," he said, before heading inside, leaving Lily alone with her thoughts and the fading light. The decision was hers and hers alone. The day of the competition dawned bright and clear. Lily, after a sleepless night filled with doubts and what-ifs, made her decision. She would enter. She owed it to her father, to her grandfather, and most importantly, to herself, to at least try. She arrived at the shooting range with her father, her heart pounding in her chest. The place was buzzing with activity. People were milling around, checking their rifles and practicing their aim. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder and anticipation. Mark was there, of course, holding court with a group of admirers, his booming laughter echoing across the range. As Lily and her father approached the registration table, a hush fell over the crowd. All eyes turned to them. Lily felt her cheeks burning with embarrassment. She could hear whispers and snickers. Well, Mark drawled, sauntering over with a smirk on his face. If it isn't Lily, the farmer's daughter. What brings you here, little lady? Did you get lost on your way to the pie-baking contest? The crowd erupted in laughter. Lily wanted to disappear. She gripped her father's hand tightly, trying to ignore the taunts. She's here to compete, Mark, her father said, his voice calm but firm. Mark raised an eyebrow, feigning surprise. Compete? You? With that old rifle? Don't you think you'd be better off tending to your chickens, sweetheart? Maybe, Lily replied, her voice barely a whisper, but I'm here now. Mark threw back his head and laughed again. Suit yourself, he said, his eyes glinting with amusement. But don't say I didn't warn you. This is a man's game, Lily. You're going to be out of your depth. He turned to the crowd, winking. This should be good for a laugh. Lily ignored him, focusing on the registration process. She signed her name, took her assigned lane number, and walked towards the firing line, her head held high, despite the jeers and the doubts swirling in her mind. She knew she was an underdog, an outsider in this world of seasoned shooters. But she also knew that she had a skill, a talent that she had honed in secret. And she was determined to show them all what she was capable of. The laughter faded as she took her position, the weight of the rifle feeling strangely comforting in her hands. It was time to focus, to block out the noise, and to let her skill speak for itself. The first round began, and the air filled with the sharp crack of rifles. Mark, as expected, started strong. He fired with speed and precision, hitting bullseye after bullseye. The crowd cheered, egging him on. He preened under the attention, basking in the adulation. He even glanced over at Lily, a smirk on his face, as if to say, "See, this is how it's done." Lily, however, remained unfazed. She took her time, carefully lining up each shot. Her old rifle wasn't as fancy or as powerful as the others, but she knew it inside and out. She understood its quirks, its strengths, and its limitations. She breathed deeply, focusing on the target, blocking out the noise and the pressure. Her first few shots were good, but not perfect. She hit the inner rings, but not the bullseye. She adjusted her stance, tweaked her grip, and took another breath. Slowly but surely, her accuracy improved. She began hitting the bullseye with increasing regularity. The crowd, initially focused on Mark's performance, started to notice Lily. Whispers rippled through the spectators. Did you see that shot? She's actually pretty good. Who is that girl, anyway? Mark, sensing the shift in attention, started to feel a flicker of unease. He tried to ignore it, telling himself that it was just a fluke, that Lily would eventually falter. But the doubt had been planted, and it began to gnaw at him. He pressed harder, trying to maintain his lead, but his shots became rushed and less accurate. By the end of the first round, Mark was still in the lead, but Lily was close behind. The gap had narrowed. The jeers and taunts had subsided, replaced by a murmur of respect and curiosity. Lily, the farmer's daughter, was no longer just a laughingstock. She was a contender, and the competition had just begun. The surprise on Mark's face was evident. The easy victory he had imagined was slipping away. The second round brought new challenges. The targets were smaller and the distance was greater. The wind picked up, making it even harder to maintain accuracy. Mark, determined to reassert his dominance, started strong, but his frustration was evident. He was no longer shooting with ease and confidence, but with forced aggression. He missed a few shots, something that hadn't happened in previous competitions. He glared at Lily, as if blaming her for his struggles. Lily, on the other hand, remained calm and focused. She adjusted her aim to compensate for the wind, using her knowledge of the farm's weather patterns to her advantage. She took her time, carefully lining up each shot, ignoring Mark's angry stares and the increasing pressure. Suddenly, during one of Lily's shots, the old rifle jammed. The firing pin stuck and the bullet wouldn't chamber. A collective gasp went through the crowd. Mark smirked, thinking Lily's challenge was finally over. Lily, however, didn't panic. She had faced similar problems with the rifle before. She quickly assessed the situation, remembering what her grandfather had taught her. With nimble fingers, she disassembled the firing mechanism, identified the problem, and used a small tool from her pocket to dislodge the stuck pin. The whole process took less than a minute, but it felt like an eternity. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Lily reassembled the rifle and prepared to fire again. Mark's smirk had vanished, replaced by a look of disbelief. He couldn't believe that she had managed to fix the rifle so quickly and efficiently. Lily took a deep breath and fired. The shot was perfect, hitting the bullseye dead center. The crowd erupted in applause, impressed by her skill and her resilience. Mark's face was a mask of fury. He knew that Lily was a serious threat and he would have to pull out all the stops to beat her. The competition had become a true battle, a clash between experience and determination, between arrogance and humility. And Lily, the farmer's daughter, was ready to fight. After several grueling rounds, the field of competitors had narrowed. Only two remained, Lily and Mark. The crowd was buzzing with excitement. The unexpected showdown between the humble farmer's daughter and the arrogant champion had captivated everyone. The atmosphere was thick with tension, the air crackling with anticipation. Mark, his face grim and determined, tried to ignore the pressure. He reminded himself that he was the champion, that he had won this competition 3 years in a row. He had the better rifle, the better training, and the experience. He just needed to focus and regain his composure. Lily, despite the pressure, felt a sense of calm. She had come further than she ever thought possible. She had proven herself not just to the others, but to herself. She had faced the ridicule, the doubts, and the challenges, and she had persevered. Now she was just one shot away from potentially winning. She focused on her breathing, clearing her mind of all distractions. She thought of her father, her grandfather, and the countless hours she had spent practicing in the barn. She knew she could do it. The final round consisted of a single shot. The target was placed at an extreme distance, a tiny speck against the backdrop of the sky. The wind was swirling, making it even more difficult to judge the trajectory. The stakes were high. The winner would take home the trophy, the new rifle, and the bragging rights for the entire year. Mark went first. He took his time, carefully adjusting his sights, compensating for the wind. He fired. The crowd held its breath. The shot was close, but not perfect. It hit the outer ring, earning him a respectable score, but not a bullseye. Now it was Lily's turn. She stepped up to the firing line, her heart pounding in her chest. She raised her old rifle, feeling its familiar weight in her hands. She looked at the target, a tiny circle in the distance. She took a deep breath, held it, and squeezed the trigger. The rifle roared, and the bullet flew. All eyes were on the target, waiting to see the result. The silence was deafening. Then a collective gasp went through the crowd. Something incredible had happened. The target wasn't just hit, it was obliterated. Lily's bullet had struck the bullseye with such force that it shattered the entire target, sending splinters of wood and paint flying in every direction. A new record had been set, one that exceeded all previous scores by a considerable margin. The crowd erupted. Cheers, whistles, and applause filled the air. People were jumping up and down, hugging each other, and shouting Lily's name. Mark stood frozen, his mouth agape, staring at the shattered target in disbelief. He couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. He had been so confident, so sure of his victory, and now, he had been utterly defeated by a farmer's daughter with an old rifle. His ego, which had been so inflated just hours before, had been deflated in an instant. Lily lowered her rifle, her hand trembling slightly. She looked at the crowd, her eyes wide with surprise and joy. She couldn't believe that she had actually done it. She had won. She had shattered the champion's record. A slow smile spread across her face as the reality of her accomplishment sank in. Her father rushed to her side, his face beaming with pride. He wrapped her in a tight hug, whispering, "I knew you could do it, Lily. I always knew." The judges, after a moment of stunned silence, rushed to confirm the results. They measured the distance, examined the shattered target, and compared the score to previous records. There was no doubt. Lily had not only won the competition, but she had also set a new county record. The announcer's voice boomed over the loudspeaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new champion, and a new county record holder. Please give a big round of applause for Lily, the farmer's daughter." The crowd roared again, even louder than before. Lily, the quiet, unassuming girl who had been mocked and underestimated just hours before, was now the center of attention, the heroine of the day. Her life would never be the same again. Mark, still reeling from his defeat, slowly approached Lily. The swagger was gone, replaced by a look of genuine humility. He extended his hand. "Congratulations, Lily," he said, his voice surprisingly soft. "You deserve to win. That was an incredible shot." Lily, surprised by his sincerity, shook his hand. "Thank you, Mark," she said. "You were a tough competitor." The crowd continued to celebrate, chanting Lily's name and showering her with praise. She was presented with the trophy, a gleaming silver cup that seemed almost too heavy to hold. She also received the new hunting rifle, a state-of-the-art weapon that was far superior to her grandfather's old rifle. As she stood on the winner's podium holding the trophy high above her head, Lily reflected on her journey. She had come to the competition with little expectation, facing ridicule and doubt. But she had persevered, relying on her skill, her determination, and the unwavering support of her father. She had proven that it didn't matter where you came from or what others thought of you. What mattered was believing in yourself and never giving up on your dreams. She looked out at the crowd, her heart filled with gratitude. She saw the faces of people who had once mocked her, now smiling and cheering her on. She had earned their respect, not just as a shooter, but as a person. But more than the trophy, more than the new rifle, Lily valued the sense of accomplishment, the feeling of knowing that she had overcome her fears and achieved something extraordinary. She had discovered a strength within herself that she never knew existed. And she knew that this was just the beginning. The farm would always be her home, but now she had a new passion, a new goal. She would continue to hone her skills, to compete, and to inspire others to believe in themselves, no matter how impossible their dreams might seem. The victory was sweet, but the journey had been even sweeter. The local newspaper, the County Chronicle, ran the story on the front page. A picture of Lily holding the trophy dominated the cover alongside a headline that read, "Farmer's Daughter Shatters Records, Stuns Champion." The article detailed her journey, her secret talent, and her unexpected victory. Soon, reporters from other newspapers and even television stations were calling, eager to interview Lily and share her story with the world. She was invited to local events, parades, and school assemblies where she spoke about the importance of pursuing your dreams, no matter how difficult they may seem. At first, Lily was overwhelmed by the attention. She was used to the quiet life on the farm, not the glare of the spotlight. But she quickly learned to adapt, using her newfound platform to inspire others. She visited schools, talking to children about the importance of believing in themselves and working hard to achieve their goals. She encouraged girls to pursue their passions even in traditionally male-dominated fields. Mark, too, experienced a transformation. The defeat had humbled him, forcing him to reevaluate his priorities. He started spending less time boasting about his shooting skills and more time volunteering at the local shooting range, helping young people learn the sport. He even offered to coach Lily, recognizing her potential and wanting to help her reach even greater heights. The community embraced Lily as a hometown hero. They were proud of her accomplishments and inspired by her story. She had shown them that anything was possible, that even the most ordinary person could achieve extraordinary things with enough talent, determination, and self-belief. The farm, once a symbol of her quiet, unnoticed life, now became a symbol of her triumph, a reminder that even in the most unassuming places, greatness can be found. Lily continued to work on the farm, helping her father with the chores, but now she also had a new purpose: to inspire others and to show them that anything is possible if you dare to dream. One afternoon, a reporter from a national news network came to interview Lily at the farm. The reporter, a sophisticated woman named Ms. Evans, was initially skeptical, expecting to find a simple country girl with a bit of luck. But after spending time with Lily, she was impressed by her intelligence, her humility, and her genuine passion for shooting. The interview took place on the porch, overlooking the fields of corn that stretched out as far as the eye could see. Ms. Evans asked Lily about her life on the farm, her secret practice, and her experience at the competition. "Lily," Ms. Evans asked, "what would you say to other young people who have a dream but are afraid to pursue it?" Lily paused, thinking carefully before answering. "I would tell them not to be afraid," she said. "It's okay to be nervous, it's okay to doubt yourself, but you can't let those feelings stop you from trying. Believe in yourself, work hard, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something. Because you can. You really can." Ms. Evans smiled, impressed by Lily's wisdom. "And what about Mark?" she asked. "Have you spoken to him since the competition?" "Yes," Lily replied. "He's been very supportive. He even offered to coach me. I think he's a good person, he just needed a little perspective." The interview aired on national television, and Lily's story reached millions of people across the country. Letters and emails poured in, praising her courage and her inspiring message. She became a role model for young people everywhere, proving that anything is possible with enough determination and self-belief. The town erected a sign at the edge of town, "Welcome to Town Name, home of Lily, county shooting champion." The sign was a constant reminder of the unexpected fame that came to their small community. Years passed. Lily continued to balance her life on the farm with her passion for shooting. She competed in other competitions, winning some and losing others, but always learning and growing. She never forgot her roots, never let the fame change who she was. She used her prize money to help her family improve the farm, buying new equipment and expanding their crops. She also established a scholarship fund for local students, helping them to pursue their dreams just as she had. Mark became a close friend and mentor, coaching her and helping her to refine her technique. He learned to control his ego and to focus on helping others. He realized that true success wasn't about winning, but about making a positive impact on the world. One day, a young girl came to the farm clutching a worn-out rifle. She had seen Lily on television and was inspired to learn how to shoot. Lily smiled, remembering her own journey. She took the girl under her wing, teaching her the basics, just as her grandfather had taught her. As she watched the girl practice, Lily realized that her legacy wasn't just about winning competitions or setting records. It was about inspiring others, about showing them that anything is possible if you believe in yourself. It was about passing on her knowledge and her passion to the next generation. The sun set over the fields of corn, casting a golden glow on the farm. Lily stood on the porch, watching the young girl practice her aim. She knew that her life would continue to be a balance between the quiet rhythm of the farm and the excitement of the shooting range. But she was content. She had found her purpose, and she was grateful for every opportunity to make a difference. The shattered target had not only changed her life, but it had also changed the lives of so many others in her community. And that, she realized, was the greatest victory of all. The cycle continued. Every year, the county shooting competition was held, and every year, Lily was there, not always to compete, but always to support the young shooters she mentored. She brought with her not just her skill, but also her story, a testament to the power of dreams and the importance of believing in yourself, even when no one else does. And sometimes a new farmer's daughter, or a shy young boy, would come to her, eyes filled with a mixture of hope and fear, asking for guidance. And Lily would smile, remembering her own anxieties, and offer words of encouragement, sharing her knowledge and her passion. The farm remained her anchor, the place where she found peace and solace. The fields of corn continued to sway in the breeze, the smell of fresh earth and hay still filled the air, and the gentle clucking of chickens provided a comforting soundtrack to her life. Her grandfather's old rifle remained in the barn, a reminder of her roots and the foundation of her success. She would occasionally take it out, clean it, and fire a few shots just to keep the memory alive. Mark, now a respected figure in the community, continued to volunteer at the shooting range, helping young people develop their skills and learn about the importance of sportsmanship. He often told the story of his defeat at the hands of Lily, using it as a lesson in humility and perseverance. And so, the story of the farmer's daughter who shattered the champion's record became a legend passed down from generation to generation, inspiring countless individuals to pursue their dreams and to believe in the power of the human spirit. The small town became known not just for its fertile fields and its friendly people, but also for its champion, Lily, the farmer's daughter who dared to dream and changed the world one shot at a time. The end.